We are phenomenally amazing beings. We're pure creative spirit connected to everything through time and space. And we are capable of phenomenal creations, and we have a phenomenal ability. Alchemy is a solid, age-old, eternal practice for this very transformation. But alchemy understands that as an illusion, so that they say, well, you've got to make the fixed volatile so that you can rise up into albedo, the light. One of the principles of creative orientation, of magic, let's call it, is that you get your energy from a higher source. Because your destiny will unfold. The greatness of you will come to be. And before you know it, you're going to be immersed in the most wonderful realization and experience of self and life, the most glorious path that you can imagine. Every single human being is a god, is a creator of phenomenal potential. My life is just an extreme amplification of everybody's life. Every human being is born onto the wrong track in life, and ideally we're meant to come back onto the right, onto the right track in life. And so that's everybody's story, and so I was born onto the wrong track in life, like everybody else, except my track, my journey was much more extreme because I had some particular challenges, and specifically intellectual challenges where I grew up believing that I was very stupid and dumb because that's what my father made me believe. And as I've learned, belief creates reality. And so my experience was that all through my life, I was proven to be really mentally challenged, intellectually challenged, and I had huge learning disabilities and all of that. So I couldn't cope at school, and I didn't finish school, and I was just really considered by everyone, including my own experience of myself, as a reject. Like a societal reject, basically. I remember my father saying to me, because we lived in Africa, and I remember my father saying to me, he said, "Don't worry, son. What you can do is, because you're a white man, you're a European, you can go and live in Europe, and they need people there that will carry the garbage out and do all the menial work. And so, like if you go to Europe and set yourself up there, get set there, you can get a job there. You can make a life and you can make a living and all that. You can't here, but you'll have to do that. And so you can be a garbage man or something like that, right? And so that was my destiny, and that was my experience. And so it was very difficult for me. And it led to all kinds of problems. I wasn't equipped for the the job market or anything like that. So I had a lot of struggles, and with that, psychological problems that then led to health problems, and that led to substance abuse, and just all kinds of problems. So my life was an absolute disaster. But then I realized through an experience that we actually create everything that we experience. That we are the creators of our experience in life. We are not victims, and we're not victims of circumstances. And that we're basically making up our whole life and creating our life based on what we believe and what we focus on. And so, I realized that, and it led me to learn more about that realization. And I realized that then, I could put myself on a new track in life, and one that, that served me, and that I would, love to live, so that I could live as a reflection of my dreams, basically, and how I'd love to live my life. And so that has been the second part of my life, right? And what I've realized is that that's everyone's story, maybe not as extreme as mine, but everyone's born onto the wrong track in life, where they come to believe things about themselves and others in the world, and then live out that they live that experience of their beliefs, of what they've made up. And then not everyone comes to the right track in life. In fact, I don't think many do. But there are people, and we all have the potential and the opportunity to realize that we are not who we believe we are, and that there is, a much greater potential to us, and we can live as an expression of that potential, and apply it, and live the life of our dreams, which I call the second track in life. And before we started the show, you were telling me how you knew quite a lot of people that follow me and practice my work and that. And so, basically that's what's happened for them. They've been on their wrong track in life. They've made a self-realization, generally, and then more specifically, more clarified through working with me, put themselves on the right track in life, and now having a much a much better, much more abundant, pleasant, joyful experience of life, in line with how they'd love their life to go.
What gets us off onto the wrong track? Because life, like, what's the purpose of being wrong tracked? Like, it'd be so nice if we could just stay on the right track. Wouldn't that be epic?
Well,
But what are some of the factors that
that's
get us off
right.
track?
I mean, if I had designed human beings, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have done it that way. I mean, it's just like, is it necessary? But it's just, you see, it's just the way it is. And why we're born onto the wrong track in life is just simply this: is that we are just, basically, in essence, we're pure creative spirit. We're connected to everything through all time and space. We actually, in truth, we're just one with everything, you see. And we are not really separate from anything. And yet we're here for an individual experience of existence, a separate individual experience of existence. So you, Amrit, and you experience yourself very much as you, and I experience myself very much as me. And I'm glad we're like that, to be honest, because I would hate us to be like a colony of ants where there's just one hive mind, one swarm mind that tells us where to go. Go and get food from there, go and fight that scorpion there, and we just march in a line. No, we go, no, screw that. I'm going to go and live in LA. Thanks. You go, no, I don't want to work on a construction site anymore. I'm going to be a radio host, and look at you, smiling, loving life, right? And you look at me here, smiling, loving life, because we live in the life we want, right? The way we want it. And we're individuals. And so we're not worker ants, as it were, you see. And so we develop this individual sense of existence, and how we do that. And it is a fact that, and this is not mystic hooey. It's kind of science that when a child is born, it doesn't know it's not its mother. It doesn't know it's not the maternity ward or the jacuzzi that it's born in or the forest that it's born in. It just doesn't know that, you see. Has just a sense of oneness with everything, and that individuality, that individual separate sense of existence, has to be actually manufactured. And we do that by definition. The more you define things, the more you name everything around you, then the more distinct and separate it becomes. So our beliefs then contain those definitions of ourselves, others, the world, and we make up beliefs and we create this identity that gives us a sense of self. But that identity then is made up of limitations, of ideas of limitation and separation and limitation. And you know, there's some very fundamental beliefs like I'm not worthy, which means you're not lovable. If you don't have worth, like in terms of the worth we're talking about now, is you're just not as lovable as everybody else. They're going to get the love first, and you're gonna get it last, or you're not good enough. You see, that just means you're kind of useless, right? Or if you've got trust issues, you're not safe. So all of these things give us a sense of limitation, lack, and by the way, lack of viability, because we're not safe, we're not cared for, we're not part of everything, and so then we want to compensate for that. So our first orientation in life, this is the new track, this is the track that we start on, is we have these beliefs, they're negative, they're limited, and the meaning of our lives is to compensate for them, is to make up for them. So people with low worth are trying to build up their worth. People who are not good enough are trying to achieve and get recognition. People who don't have trust issues are trying to be safe and building up safety and caution and all of that. And so the meaning of your life is to compensate for who you believe you are, what you believe the world is, what you believe others are. And that's your orientation. You don't know it. You don't walk around thinking that and go, you're just doing it automatically, unconsciously. And thereby you have this very strong unconscious focus, which then creates the reality, because your focus creates your reality. If you want to know, well, what's creating your reality, your focus is creating your reality. And that's not a very novel idea, but it's very commonly known and accepted now that your focus creates your reality. But what people don't appreciate is what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? If you are trying to prove yourself and become a huge success and build a big image and all of that, why? You go, well, I'm focused on creating amazing things and having an amazing home, an amazing car, and a beautiful wife, and that's what I'm focused on. Well, not if you're compensating for not being good enough. What you're really focused on is that you're not good enough, right? And so then you are going to perpetuate that. You're going to manifest that. In fact, you're going to amplify that. And you see, and the thing is about that is that you will think, well, my problems are caused by that I'm not satisfactorily dealing with my beliefs well enough. Like I haven't got enough worth, or I don't have enough safety, or I don't have enough power, or whatever it is. So it locks you in to this, what I call that path in life, that wrong track in life. That's just about rubbish. It's an illusory pursuit, making up for illusory beliefs that have no actual, they're not an actual fact. It's just a made up illusion that you're catering to, right? And has nothing to do with who you really are, what your true possibility is, and what actually matters to you in life. I mean, just earlier, we were just talking just very briefly, and you were talking about what you were involved in that didn't matter to you, right? And I've been involved in what didn't matter to me. And what, as I say, what's available to us then is to find out who we really are and who we truly are, above and aside from our false identity that we made up, that gives us a sense of separation and individual existence. But who are we? Who is this person that actually is one with everything, you see? And what matters to us, and what will really fulfill us, and what would we really love to create? But that's going taking it further than your question of why do we start on the wrong track in life? Well, that's why we start on the wrong track in life, and that's why everybody starts on the wrong track in life, because everyone has to create an identity. Everyone does create an identity based on beliefs of limitation, which then become the meaning of their life, trying to overcome, which then just perpetuate. Belief creates reality, and as long as you're focusing on it, and then that's how your life goes, and then that's how you think life is, and you just think, wow, this is how life is. This is how I've got to deal with it, and you're locked into that until somehow you escape it, this is not new information, right? This is as old as the hills themselves, because you see, no, it is. In every culture and civilization, there's mythology, right? You know that, we know that. There's mythology. And there's one myth in common in every society and civilization, everywhere, across the planet, throughout all of history. It's called the hero myth. And the hero myth, it explains the cycle. And if you follow the hero myth starts with the child in hiding, that the person who is on the wrong track in life, who then halfway through their life rediscovers who they are really, and begins a journey back to that real, true, authentic self. So, I'm not just sucking this out of my thumb. This is a fact of life, and the human journey. It's been very well understood by every culture and civilization throughout all of history.
Hey guys, hopefully you're loving this episode so far. We're about to go even deeper into the philosophy of alchemy and how it's actually something that's really pragmatic, Hermetic wisdom, and the occult. If you're loving these episodes, please do take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps with everything we're trying to do to expand consciousness here on the planet and play our role and part in it all. So thank you in advance for you taking the time to subscribe. Back to today's episode. The word compensation and the consequences of the compensatory effects of us navigating our life with beliefs that are packed in for a myriad of reasons, is very present for me as I unpack your work. And like you said, there are certain core fears, if you want to call them that, and you go through 12 of them in your book, which is quite profound. But I want to go a layer deeper in the onion, which is understanding because we're discussing focus, and you mentioned the word unconscious, and our unconscious focus. So we've got our subconscious, and then we've got our unconscious, we've got our self-conscious, which doesn't actually mean what it sounds like, and then we've got our superconscious. Can you take some time to describe the architecture of what's going on underneath there, so we can have a further conversation about how to course correct down the line? So let's start with, if you can explain the
consciousness. Yeah.
Please.
Well, you see, the creative premise, because I don't know who could argue with the fact that we create our own reality. If you only scratch the surface and look into it, right? We create our own reality. Um, and so that's now also again a very commonly accepted principle. We create our own reality. You just have to look at the the patterns in people's lives, right? And you go, well, how come that in the same environment that we can live in and the same circumstances, how come that's your consistent experience of life, and how come that's their consistent experience of life, and then how come this is my consistent experience of life? It's different, right? Um, and so we're all living in the same world, creating different realities. You see, and the, so the premise is that the part of you that creates your reality is your subconscious. Your subconscious, the invisible, what they call the feminine aspect of consciousness, and that creates your reality. And how it creates your reality is that there are other aspects of consciousness, other awareness components of consciousness. So you've got your unconscious, which is beneath your waking realization, is your unconscious beliefs, your identity, your set of limiting separate beliefs. um, Simplistically and basically, that's your unconscious. And not to be confused, sorry to complicate this, but not to be confused with the Jungian collective unconscious, because people who did studied Jungian psychology get a bit upset. They go, oh, because to them the collective unconscious is the higher consciousness, you see, the oneness of it all, and so when they hear the unconscious being kind of equated to the ego, and sort of the limiting self, then they get a bit upset. So we've got to be careful, to clarify our language, right? That's not what we mean. When the Jungian unconscious, collective unconscious, sorry, we call the superconscious, the higher consciousness. Super means above, right? So superconsciousness is the higher consciousness. So there's an aspect of higher consciousness, your higher self, your God within, your genius, your intuitive self, whatever, right? So there's the superconscious, the unconscious, and then also there's the self-conscious, which is now we operating out of our self-conscious right now, which is the waking part of ourselves that's figuring things out, working things out, calculating, deciding, choosing, etc. In a waking mode, a waking self-aware mode. And so you have these three modes of aware, in some ways aware consciousness, and they give the subconscious messages, and then the subconscious takes the messages it gets from either the unconscious or the self-conscious or the superconscious. They give your subconscious messages, and then the subconscious takes those messages and turns them into reality, translates them into reality. So your subconscious creates your reality based on the messages it gets from the different aspects of consciousness.
And so when you've got multiple streams of information flowing into your subconscious, which is acting on those, then building a meaning and a story that's on those beliefs, why, like, not why, but how does it choose which one to operate off of? So you've got superconscious information, self-conscious
Yeah,
information.
that's a very good question. Because the subconscious is not just getting one message at a time, right? I mean, just to put it simplistically, if I'm out on the town and I see an attractive person that I think, well, it'd be interesting to go and talk to them, would be pleasant and interesting to go and talk to them. That's my self-conscious thought, let's just say. And I go, yeah, that would be nice. But my unconscious might say to me, yeah, but you're not in their class. You know, you go over there. Look at who they're talking to and laughing with, and how well dressed they are, and how good looking they are, or whatever, right? This person won't be interested in you. They'll reject you. So there's a message. You're not good enough, and you'll be rejected. There's another message. Wow, I'm attracted to that person. It would be lovely to go and talk to them. Just as a simplistic example. So can you agree that that's two conflicting messages, right? And make no mistake, in that equation, there'd be a superconscious input as well that you might not be aware of unless you trained, and you're an aware person. But you see, so what does the subconscious? What is the subconscious? What message will the subconscious create? As you said, what does it choose? Well, it chooses the message with the most energy behind it. The message that has what we call that has the power, which means the message that's got the most energy. And so then it'll go, so if I go, no, if I overrule that thing, that fear in my mind that that person's too good for me, they'll reject me. If I overrule that and go, no, I'm going to go and talk to them. I'm in intention. They may reject me. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to go for it, and I put energy behind it. Then that's the message that's going to get the power, and that's going to manifest. Otherwise, if I build up my fear and hesitate and go, I'll have another drink first, you see, before I go, I'm building up, you see, I'm giving it more and more power. I'll have some more drinks, and you see, I'm feeding it, right? So that's the answer.
The interesting thing, that makes it sound like there's only one interesting thing in there. There are many interesting things in there. One of the things that stands out to me in particular is how important behavior is. That seems to be the master stroke to reprogram. And after following, diving deeper into your work, I'd love to sort of get your insights on affirmations and stuff like that as well, because I'm starting to realize potentially, and I'm open to having this rewritten as a script, but maybe they're almost just as good as their efficacy to be able to remind you to behave differently. And that might just be it. Maybe there's a deeper wisdom in there. But it seems like the master stroke for actually building the energy against those three different currents and allowing your superconscious to actually build more energy into your being. It's like, wow, I've actually got to take the action that I believe is in alignment to my superconscious to then perpetuate that energy and build more energy around that, so I can live, I don't know, call it a higher life or however you want to describe it. But yeah, behavior seems to be this real linchpin sort of thing. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, it's important, put it that way. It's very important because that's alignment, right? You see, so if I would like to engage with someone and have a positive experience with them, and then I also follow through with that with action, that's aligned, you see, and that is through my actions, I am getting behind my intention. And so my subconscious will more get the idea that has the power, right? And if I don't, you see, say I don't do something, say I want to do something but I don't do it, what my subconscious is making conclusions. You see, the thing is that people might think that messages means English or language messages, written, spoken, thought messages. No, it's messages. It could be language messages. It's all kinds of messages. It's like, if you keep calling someone and they don't call you back, they didn't say, I don't want to talk to you, but don't you get the message that they don't want to talk to you, right? It's a message, right? So the subconscious is the same. It gets messages, and it gets messages through your behavior. So it's sitting there saying, going, I want to engage that person, but I'm also scared not to, because I'm not good enough, I'll be rejected. So then the subconscious is watching you and goes, oh, we want to go and talk to that person, but we're not going. Why wouldn't we go and talk to them? Because we're scared, we're not good enough, and we'll get rejected. And so, right, so that must be true. That must have the power. So through your behavior, you've empowered a belief, a message, an intention, right? So if you followed through, well, then you are empowering that intention, the message of your intention. If you don't follow through on your intentions, it's likely because you are put in power in what you fear, right? That prevents you from doing it. So your subconscious builds up, now amplifies in your subconscious. Yeah, this belief, this fear is true. It does have power. So I better create that.
Any other ways to reprogram how your subconscious is behaving, or is that the best way?
Yeah, no, I mean well, we're not reprogramming the subconscious. It's not about reprogramming anything. It's just you see that what I am involved in, and what I help people be involved in is creating, and creating isn't about reprogramming uh, anything. It's just about knowing what it is you want to create, and put in the power in that, put in the energy in that, you see. So I mean, behavior is helpful, but it's not the answer. The answer is in knowing what's really true for you, what having the ability, the self-awareness, developing the self-awareness that you know what really matters to you, and that you aim for that you go for that, and you have self-conscious intentions and directions to your subconscious through choice to go for that and create that. And that's the most important, thing, right? And it's very important that you know what's true for you, because if you are going for something as a result, and as a result of your of a compensating tendency, your subconscious knows that. If you're going for success because you don't believe you're good enough, and you're trying to build up your sense of worth, and um, being acceptable enough, etc. It knows that, and it goes, oh, here we are again, right? Compensating for this, it knows where you're coming from, and says, oh, here we are again, coming from our sense of lack, trying to get this to make up that. And so it's not getting, oh yeah, create more success. It's getting, oh God, we're more unworthy than we even thought we were, right? It's so you see, that's the big skill, is really arriving at knowing what actually matters to you, what you really love, what you really would love to create, and going for that, because then the power just goes into that. If you're doing it for a compensating reason, the power goes into whatever you're compensating for, you see. And so what I'm talking about here is really the main thing. It's not about reprogram anything. It's just really about changing your focus, changing your focus to what is true for you, what matters to you, and going for that. Because if you do that, that will come about relatively easier. And also, you will find that in that in that focus, your behavior will be different anyway. So you don't have to work on your behavior to get there. You have to get there, and your behavior will automatically become much more functional, because your behavior is dysfunctional because of what you focused on, you see. So if you focused on your worst stuff, your behavior is going to be consistent with an unworthy person. If your focus is focused on trust and lack of safety and all that, your behavior is going to be consistent with an unviable person, right? It's very difficult for it not to be. And so behavior is very important. It very much is. But kind of behavior follows focus rather than focus follows behavior. Behavior isn't the horse in front of the cart.
I get it. How does one discover what's true for them then?
Well,
hey, you're Inspired Tribe. I want to take a quick sec. I wanted to share something today with you that is really dear to my heart, and it's actually what keeps the entire ecosystem around the Inspired Evolution thriving, my one-on-one coaching. So it's basically coaching that helps you live a spiritually aligned life. I coach people from all different types of walks of life. These people are leaders, and they're looking to have an incredible spiritual impact in the lives that they're leading for themselves, and then also lead in alignment to their values. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Here's a few people that have also transformed through my coaching, and here's what they have to say.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines.
He's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing.
Then my corporate banking job wasn't really doing it.
You feel like you're not making progress towards your goals.
And Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
I'm more in control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
As you guys can see, there's a lot of people all over the world from all these different corners experiencing incredible transformations. I don't think, if I can say humbly myself, that there is anything quite like this somewhere else online. Most people that, have channels that, grow and grow and grow don't really focus on one-to-one offerings. I have just found that it is the most profound space where you can bring yourself in a private container and really just share what's going on for yourself. And if you want to book in for that call with me, touch base, it's www.amrit.coach/life. That's www.amrit.coach/life. There is a link in the show notes below to book in that call. And yeah, if you want to take your journey further, if you want to dive in deeper, and you really want to live a spiritually aligned life, if it's for you, please do check it out. And without too much further ado, once again, for your spirit, for yourself, today's podcast.
You got to go on a journey, really. Because you see, we live out of our identity, our sense of who we believe we are. and how we believe the world is, and what other people are, and what we are, and the world is, and so we live out of that, and we actually assume that that's actually very real. As Einstein said, reality is an illusion, is just an illusion, but it's a very convincing illusion. So you know, where we're starting from is we just imagine that how we think it is how it is, and that what we want is really what we want. And we go, no, really, no, I want that. No, it's true for me. I'm very passionate about it. I get excited about it, you know, whatever. So we really, you know, we really believe it. And so we have to learn to be able to see through that illusion, and you know, come to the truth of how it is, and who we are, and what it is that is really true for us, and what actually really matters to us, and then make our lives about that, you know, commit to that, get behind that. And you see, in alchemy, alchemy is not a very well understood model. I'll call it that. It's not a very, you know, people know, oh, it's turning lead into gold. It's a transformation of the heart, and there's these flowery ideas of what alchemy is. But alchemy is really a solid, an age-old, eternal practice for this very transformation that we're talking about. If you look at the three phases, and if someone knows a lot about alchemy, they go, bullshit, William, it's 4 phases. But we're not going to talk about Citriana, so don't worry about that, guys. Essentially, there are 3 phases to the alchemical process: nigredo, albedo, and rubedo. And what that means is that there's 3 conditions, right? So black, white, and red. And the nigredo, the black, is the fixed, is the fixed, right? It's your identity, your permanent sense, your rigid sense of how it is, what you believe. You see, it's rigid. It's like, they call it the fixed. And so this is it. And this is when you're in nigredo, you just completely assume for real, this is how it is. This is who you are. This is who you are. This is who I am. This is how the world is. This is who the world is. This is how it is. And that's it. And how I'm seeing it is how it is. That's how it is. But alchemy understands that as an illusion. So they say, well, you got to make the fixed volatile. You got to soften that up, make it evaporate, so that you can rise up into albedo, the light, where you're above that, and you can see actually past and outside of your fixed ideas of self and life and everything, what's going on, all of it, right? And you can see really who, you know, the truth of everything, the truth of you, the truth of reality now, whatever it is, and then you can act according to that. And that's rubedo, which is the red, you know, which is the follow through, that you follow through on that. But the part I'm addressing now is the transition from nigredo to albedo, from the fixed to the volatile, right? And so what can take us out of nigredo into albedo? Intuition. It's the only thing that can do it for us. There isn't another means of doing it. We have 2 faculties, perception, and we have intuition. Well, when I say we have 2 faculties, we have 2 modes of awareness: perception and intuition. And perception is the mode of awareness of Negredo, and intuition is the mode of awareness of Albedo, right? And so when we're in Negredo, we are seeing the world through our thoughts and feelings. And our thoughts and feelings are nothing more than reflections of our beliefs, our biases. It's reality through the filters of our biases, or all of what we believe, all of what we understand. And so then, you know, to escape that, and it's very easy, by the way. You enter into another mode of awareness, our other mode of awareness, our higher mode of awareness, which is intuition. And then through intuition, you start to see actually how things are. And so a very big skill in becoming a powerful creator is developing self-awareness. And there's no real true self-awareness outside of intuition. So you've got to develop a working relationship with intuition, not just a gut feeling. You know, people go to me when I talk about intuition, they go, yeah, oh man, you know, the other day I just got this feeling my uncle's going to call me. And you know what he did? How about that? It's like, wow. It's like, yeah, very impressive. That's a random, you know, gut feeling thing. When we're talking about using it as a constant, all-day practice. And one of the things we do in our work is we actually have processes that help people identify what their truth is and what they'd like to, what is true for them to make their life about, and what they want to go for in life and create in life. And what you find is that's a starting point, but what happens is as a person now starts on that path towards what they've identified as a beginning, you know, as a start, what they want to make their life about, what's you know, what's true for them. Then as they head towards that, it actually begins to reveal itself. So you know, the sort of shades and veils and all that just start peeling away.
But you've got to start taking some steps in the right direction first.
Yeah, exactly. When you know, when you start taking directions towards your truth, the truth will amplify itself to you more and more. And you know, you just as you continue, what you know, and this is what they say about this path, and it's very accurate, that you must be careful about taking it. You must be sure you want to take it, because what isn't going to serve you on that path is you're going to lose it. It's going to slip out of your hands, and you may have thought it's what you need, you see, but it's not. And you know, so what doesn't serve you falls away, and what does serve you comes towards you. And it's a beautiful thing, and sometimes it can be disconcerting, because you're going, well, I didn't want to lose that with, you know, I wanted to keep that while I went for that, you know. So but you know, if the power is in you, you know, fully realizing your true path in life, and all of the abundance and benefits, and joy and everything, the rewards, the riches, because they do, you know, it's a very rich and rewarding life, obviously, because it's your true life. And you know, so as I said, it can be a little disconcerting at sometimes even maybe very disconcerting at some point or other, because you didn't expect, well, this is not my truth, and you were attached to it. It was a source of energy for you. But nevertheless, as you go, when you look back, you go, yeah, didn't need that, you know. One of the principles of you see, of the creative orientation, of magic, let's call it, is that you get your energy from a higher source, because we live in a way that we fix ourselves. We contained. We are the consistent way we are because we believe this is like how we're going to get our energy, and this is the way to get our energy, and this is the most energy we can get. So when we change, that source of energy gets taken away from us, and we go, oh, shit, that's my source of energy. That was, But it gets replaced by higher and higher sources of energy. So that's an important thing to know on the path, is that, yeah, you will lose your lower source of energies, which you'll confuse for your higher sources of energy. There was this. You may know who Osho is. I'm sure many listeners here will know who Osho was, right? And so I was talking about this stuff once, and a friend of mine was there, and he was listening, and he had been with Osho in Pune and those places, and one day Osho, when he was doing satsang, he was talking to his disciples there, his sannyasins. He got frustrated with them, and he said, I don't think I was going to say he said Jesus. I don't think he said Jesus, but he said, something like that. Jesus said, I'm trying to lead you to a palace, and you just keep stopping by the side of the road building mud hovels, and that's what he was talking about is you got mud hovels that you think are your palaces, and you don't want to leave them. You don't want to follow me to the palace, right? And that's what he's talking about, the lowest source of energy. And he's saying, I'm trying to take you to the highest source of energy, man.
And does this sort of start to unpack what you also describe as conflict? Because in my life, I've found myself, through my work as a life coach, I've been sort of, I find myself saying this at times, which I think we have different terminology, so I'll probably clear that up in the question as well, which is I say stress is like a free life coach in your life, because it's helping you recalibrate in many ways. There's good stress, and then there's like excessive stress, but a good amount of stress, which is like existential angst kind of stress, is like, hey, I'm just trying to let you know that you're on the wrong track, and I think you call that conflict, and you say it's a great source for your creative power. Am I butchering stuff, or can you describe conflict to us? And the mud hovels lead, and then getting to the palace.
Well, conflict, as we use the term in creating, just means when you're conflicted, when like when you're upset, when you're exercised, when you're in reaction, when you're unsettled, when you don't feel good, or you're freaked out, or to whatever degree, more or less, right? That is conflict. And I say conflict is the best tool for self-awareness ever, right? Because you can unpack. You see, what happens normally for a person when they experience conflict, we're pretty conflict averse traditionally, because we have a bad relationship to conflict. We're frightened of conflict because conflict is loaded with meaning, negative meaning. You see, if you're angry, basically the meaning loaded in anger is that you have no power. You are powerless. Really, that's in depression, pretty much the same thing. You see, in fear is I'm not viable. Existentially, I'm not viable. You're getting a message that you actually believe, hey, I'm not viable right now, or I have no power now, or I don't belong here. This is not my place. I don't belong here. I haven't got a place to belong. Or, I'm unworthy. I'm a piece of rubbish, right? So this is what conflict, emotions are relaying to you. And you see, you're not thinking about it because it's happening unconsciously. And you're getting the message at some level. I'm a piece of rubbish. My life, I won't survive this situation. I have no power here. I'm useless. You know, I'm an ineffectual being, right? You don't want to know that. See, the average person doesn't want to know that because they believe it, so they don't want to know. You know, traditionally, and this is true, they used to, important people, generals, kings, all of that, they used to kill the messengers that brought them bad news, right? Because like, I don't want to know that because that's upsetting to me. It's telling me, you know, these things that I don't want to be true about myself. So I don't want to know. So we're very conflict averse because we believe that, right? You see, and then because we believe it, we react to it, and it informs our behavior. You see, and not functional behavior, by the way. And also that behavior then reinforces the belief and all that. Whereas if you're a creator, you're not fearful of conflict. You're not a drama queen. You don't go around looking for trouble. But when conflict arises, you go, oh, okay, let's look at this. What's going on here? Because why? You're going to see what you're telling yourself, how you're defining yourself, others, the world, what you're assuming, what you're believing, where the power is. And then you can change that. You can change your consciousness. You can go, oh, okay, I see what I'm telling myself. Okay, but what do I want? Where's the power going to be? This is what I want. I put the power in there. And you can really powerfully affect things and change things through your relationship to conflict, instead of fearing it, reacting to it, and then, you know, behaving dysfunctionally, reinforcing, giving more power to the problem, all of that. You can resolve the problem. You can turn it into a non-problem, and you can actually take it from a problem, and because of the awareness it's given you and the direction that it can give you, you can turn it into a very strong positive, you know. I remember someone, I've forgotten where I heard it, but they say that when Carl Jung, when friends or colleagues or associates or something would come to him with great news, they're like, oh, there's good stuff's happened and all that, he'd put his arm around them and say, don't worry, we'll get through this together. And then if they came to him with like really bad news, it's funny, isn't it? Then if they came to him with really bad news and they're like all freaked out and all that, he'd say, I got a bottle of champagne in the fridge. Let me go and get it. You know, we're going to crack it now because now we can really do some work, you see.
Yeah, wow. It's yeah,
but
really.
That's funny, and there's a big truth in that story. But as I said, we don't want to cause trouble. We don't want to be upset and all that. Generally, being a creator is a very uplifted experience, right? Which we enjoy. But we also don't shy away from conflict, because also there's something that you have to understand as well as a creator or someone who'd want to become a creator. And even if you don't want to be a creator, you should know this, is that tension is creative. Tension is the fuel of creativity, right? So what people are wanting to do always is, because they're uncomfortable with tension, is they want to resolve it all the time. They want to dust it over and just make everything all right. They want to be peacemakers with each other and whatever, and and resolving tension is a big pastime in the average person's life. Meditating. By the way, I'm not making meditation wrong. Meditation's good, but where it's done to resolve tension, right? anything that's done to resolve tension, eating, drinking, whatever you do to resolve tension, you've got to understand you're killing your creative power, because tension is the fuel of creativity. Everything that gets created on earth gets created through the drive of tension-seeking resolution. And so when you're a creator, you don't like stress, you don't enjoy tension and all that, but you understand it as something not to be killed, as something to be appreciated, understood,
alchemized,
but to be held, because everything, as I say, everything in that ever exists in this world was created according to a principle of tension-seeking resolution. So that's another reason why we're not running away from conflict, because conflict can, better than anything else, give us our self-awareness like nothing else can. But also we're not going to, we're not in a hurry to kill the tension and have emotional stability as our aim, as our standard of measurement, because that's very uncreative.
Hey guys, just taking a quick sec out. A question for you guys. So what is your relationship with your intuition? Do you experience it as a hunch, or do you experience it as this ever-present current that you can tap into? What's your relationship with intuition, and what are some of the stories you've got about your intuition and following through on intuition, and some of the potentially trippy-dippy things that happen when you have done so, or some of the amazing success that has come from doing so? Leave that in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. That's me replying back to you. Back to today's episode. So diving deeper into intuition, you've gone as far as saying it's really interesting to feel into. I love that. I love the delineation between perception is of the negredo and perception is of the albedo. Intuition is of the albedo, or connecting you in there. And that intuition, you wrote, it's not a sixth sense or something as like lamely logical as that. What you said, it's what the mind immediately apprehends before rationalizing, which then also shows why the rational mind struggles with the concept of intuition so much. Can you unpack that a little bit further for us so we can understand intuition a little bit deeper?
What is intuition?
Yeah, and just unpack it a little bit, because I think for most people it's like, oh yeah, it's just I'm developing a little bit of awareness around the sixth sense. Like I've got a hunch. Intuition for a lot of people is just a hunch. Whereas for you,
that's right. It's a hunch. It comes and it goes. But actually, intuition is a permanent sense, a mode of awareness that's there all the time if you just switch over to it, right? It's not like, oh, it comes and it goes, and it's like it's a random thing. You just get a sense, you get a bad vibe, you get a good vibe, whatever. Intuition is a mode of awareness, and it's just as simple as this, as you see, is that perception is a mode of awareness, but it's your egoic mode of awareness. It's the mode of awareness of your identity. It's how you see reality through that persona that you've built up based on that sense of limitation, that limited idea, and that you're separate from everything, and you're limited in whatever way, and that is what perception is, and it informs you through thoughts and feelings, and basically you're really being informed of your past, really, your experience, because it has no other way of relating to anything, because it's just, you're just here contained in this little shell, right? And don't have a sense of having any awareness beyond this. So what can you orientate from, just from your past experience, right? So that is what is being fed to you through your thoughts and feelings, and occurring to you. And that is what we call perception, right? It's the mode of awareness, born of your past experience, basically, right? Now, intuition is a mode of awareness that's born of your connection to everything through all time and space, past, present, future, here, there, everywhere, right? It's a part of you that basically knows everything. And so that's what intuition is. And there is a dictionary definition that says that intuition is what the mind immediately apprehends before rationalizing, because that's how you become involved in your perception. Is you start rationalizing whatever you're engaged in and involved with. So even your intuition, you'll get it, and then you'll start rationalizing, which will take you away from your intuition. So when the dictionary says intuition is what the mind immediately apprehends before rationalizing, that's more like a tool for being with your intuition, so that you're taking what you immediately get and resisting rationalizing it. So because that's basically how you be in your intuition, is you resist rationalizing. And we teach methods for resisting rationalizing. And so when you don't rationalize, you're not in perception, and then you're in the field, the quantum field. You're in the field of everything through all time and space. And through all of that. Now, you can't know everything, because there's no chance your mind could process everything through all time and space. But it will inform you through everything through all time and space. And it'll inform you in relation to what you truly need to know, what's in your highest good to be aware of, etc. They say, and I first heard this from Joe Dispenza, who said, you process 400 billion bits of information every second. 400 billion bits of information is processed by your brain every second, but you're only self-consciously aware of 2,000 bits, which is staggering, because you can't know all of that. But what do you know? So you're either going to know the truth in relation to your highest good, or you're going to just be being fed by your biases, right? Your biases will give you the 2,000 bits, or your intuition will give you your 2,000 bits. I don't know if I answered your question. Just tell me.
No, you have. I was also going to then inquire about imagination, because that seems like another tool that connects us to our superconscious, but I'm conscious of using even the word tool in there. Can you unpack the role of imagination?
No, I mean, imagination is our intermediary to intuition. It is. So it's very interesting. If you read books like Patrick Harper's The Philosopher's Secret Fire, which is an amazing book. I don't know if it's everyone's cup of tea, but it's the history of the imagination. It's the history of going right back to the earliest of days up till the present time, of the human understanding and use of the imagination, and mostly an understanding of its creative power, its application in relation to creating. And for instance, in alchemy, there's a thing they call the philosopher's stone, or the philosopher's secret fire, both, right? People know, Harry Potter, there was the Harry Potter and the philosopher's stone. So it's like, what is the philosopher's stone? People know, it's this thing, this material. If you put it in a frying pan with lead, it'll turn into gold. So it is. It's an agency by which lead is transformed into gold. In other words, you go from negredo to albedo, and it's imagination. it's imagination. That is what the philosopher's stone is. They also called it the philosopher's secret fire. It's a stone that can't be touched, a fire that does not burn. It's imagination. And in the advanced work that we teach in intuition, which is astounding to people, is we teach people to use their imagination to make up their intuitive understanding, which at first is shocking and there's resistance to, because when we were children, we were told, you're just making that up, right? It's nonsense. That's you've got a wild imagination. Actually, we have a very negative experience of relationship to our imagination. If we exhibited imagination, we're actually put down for it as misinformed, childish, not sensible, all of that, right? But creators know that. There's even a record from the old days, Talking Heads, stop making sense, right? Stop making sense. So we teach people, I teach people to use their imagination to arrive at their intuition. And what I mean by that, well, in the ultimate, I teach people a three-step process to access their intuition very powerfully, very palpably, very practically, very tangibly, to formulate information that is mind-blowingly useful, accurate, all of that. And the last phase of that three-step process, the last step, is where you really unpack the information. And you do it by making it up, by using your imagination. You make up what it is. And there's a little more to it than it might sound like here. You don't just make up any rubbish. There's a convention to it, the way you do it. But through making it up, you arrive at the ultimate level of intuitive understanding, of intuitive clarity and insight. I mean, people always, you can listen to all sorts of people, these big gurus and physicists and whatever, Einsteins and whoever. It's like, the power of the imagination, and you've got to develop the power of your imagination and all that. And people are going, the power of the imagination, the power of the imagination. But they don't consider that what is the most obvious application of your imagination is you make shit up, right? You make stuff up, you see, and so that is the ultimate. You can call it a tool, the ultimate tool in intuitive development and understanding.
Casanova understood a bit of this. Can you understand? Can you explain a little bit about Casanova and why the occult is so important to understand? Yeah.
No, Casanova didn't understand it. That's the thing. Casanova, 18th century character, which I don't think there's hardly a person who doesn't know about Casanova. But Casanova is mostly understood as a romancer, isn't he? Wouldn't you agree? Like, he was a great romancer. But actually,
his reputation precedes him.
Yeah. His reputation precedes him, yeah. Because that's the most sort of romantic and the sort of relatable aspect of who he was. But he was quite an amazing person. In his life, he had been a priest, he had been a soldier, he had been an ambassador, he had been an explorer overseas, a musician, you name it. But he was very well known in the courts of Europe, in the palaces of the kings and queens, where he was in and welcome and known. And one of the things he was a con man. He made his money, also made fortunes out of conning people. And in one story, this nobleman had an interesting dagger that he had inherited, and Casanova said, that's the dagger that they cut off Simon's ear with, or whatever his name is, the disciple that cut the ear off, they cut the ear off the soldier. He said, that's the knife Simon used to cut the soldier's ear off, that knife. That's the most priceless thing. He says, and if you find the sheath that it goes in, then it'll give you the power to find all of the hidden treasure in the world. And so he came back to the guy and says, I've been looking for that sheath and I've found it. Here he is. And he sold this guy for a huge sum of money this sheath to put the knife in, which was just a fraud and that. And he got away a lot with this stuff because the Inquisition was very big at that time. And so if the Inquisition found out that these people were doing sort of metaphysical things, occult things like finding magical sheaths and all that, they would have tortured them to death. So nobody told on him. If they got ripped off by him, they just kept quiet. Right? That's how he got away with it. So he was an amazing guy, had a lot of talents, and one of his talents was being a fraudster. And one of the things he set himself up with and how he got into the courts is as a psychic and fortune teller and all that. And so he went into the courts and that, and he just made up in his mind, he was just making up these fortunes. He wasn't looking in a ball and glass crystal ball and gazing in there and reading tarot cards. He just made stuff up. And just wild, and he was wild. Apparently, like he really went wild with his imagination and made up all these things, right? And in the end, though, it all went true. It all became true because he predicted the French Revolution and the guillotining of all the nobles, and everything that he predicted came true. And it caused him a huge nervous breakdown. And he went and he hid away and he found a cave and he hid there and that because he was just so freaked out that all this stuff that he had made up was all coming true. And he was actually also paradoxically a very religious guy because Catholicism was the order of the day back then. And it didn't matter who you were a Catholic and you went to church and all of that, right? And so he was religious as well. And he's making up all this stuff and it's all coming true. And he thought now, something really bad is happening because of, his evil. And he completely freaked out. And, what he didn't know is that when you make stuff up, it's true. And, that's what people find out when they're doing my workshops is they're there. Takes a little bit to encourage people to make things up because you're saying, tell this person about them. And, you're formulating information that's got to be accurate. And you go, how you're going to do that is just make it up. And they can't do that. That would be wrong. And then, but anyway, through the coaxing and the processes we have to get people to that point, then they just start making stuff up. And it's like Casanova. It's like, wow, it's true, amazing. Except with Casanova, it was much more dramatic, right? Poor guy.
You mentioned your workshops. I think this is a nice little place for us to sort of just say to people if they want to check out more of your work, what's the best place for them to be able to do that? Obviously there's the website William Whitecloud, but
coming very soon. What we were doing over the pandemic, I took my foundational course, Create Your Destiny, and found a way of delivering it online over some weeks, where people could just attend. All of that foundational course, Create Your Destiny, where you're going to learn the real foundations in what we're talking about today, in that ability to understand the wrong track in life, and transform to the right track in life and manage succeeding on that track. All of that I'm putting in an automated program. It's going to have about 40 hours of content, like really comprehensive, and it's going to be for free, and it's going to be automated. So that's just coming in the next few weeks, not today, but in a few weeks. So if anyone's interested, just go to my website, which you'll come across if you Google William Whitecloud. But otherwise, go to naturalsuccessacademy.com. Naturalsuccessacademy.com. It's awesome stuff. I mean, we took tens of thousands of people through this course in the pandemic, and the feedback we got was amazing. You know, just how dramatically it helped people actually get through the bloody pandemic, and then also ongoing change their lives, create amazing stuff. And many people, you know, just said it was a second chance in life, and it's also they'll never have to do anything again, because this is the missing link. This is the missing information that they've been looking for all their lives, right? So it's worth checking out. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to mention that and just point people in that direction, Amrit.
Of course. At that particular juncture, you mentioned natural success, and I think we've been discussing this at length today, but I think it can be really useful to just get it black and whited out a little bit, the difference between success and natural success in your own words, please.
Well, you see, why I call my work natural success is because what people tend to do is they have ideas of what they should aspire to, and that when they get that, they're going to be good and they're going to be all right, and they going to be valid and whatever, and the idea behind it really typically is that you find the right formulas and apply those formulas, and it involves all kinds of work, reprogramming yourself and clearing your beliefs, and working hard and meditating and putting your mind right every morning and making affirmations and all of that. Where I go, well, no, you don't have to do that. You just actually need to connect with yourself, who you really are, and act in favor of that. Live in favor of that. If you imagine yourself as a separate person to you, and you went, okay, so here's this person, I love them, I will serve them in them, being actualized in life, living their dream and all that. I'll get behind them. But you're doing that for yourself, you see. It's just and if you do that, if you realize who you are, own who you are, and start acting in favor of that, in other words, doing what you love, then what you would normally call success will unfold for you very naturally, without any formula or anything, without reprogramming yourself, without changing your beliefs, without making affirmations, without having to meditate for hours every day, whatever, all the hard work that you put in and do, and the money you spend and all that, you don't have to do that. Your destiny. That's why I call my first program "Create Your Destiny," because your destiny will unfold. Like the greatness of you will come to be, and abundance will follow that. Love will follow that. Your true passion will be realized and fulfilled, and that's what I consider to be success, and also natural success, because it'll just happen naturally, and it does. It's not a fairy tale. We've got too much evidence now of that, of thousands of people who have, a way of putting it, you could say, found their heart and owned their heart, and lived in favor of that, and have this then success of the kind I'm speaking here unfold for them. And you know, if you're in our community, you know, you're most probably one of the people that can attest to it. But you know, just so many people that have one, you know, just incredible, amazing stories to share about that. So that's what's behind the term natural success.
Well, then where does courage sit in and around all of this? Is it an ingredient?
No. No, it's not. It's not. It's not an ingredient that you have to develop. And by the way, neither is trust. I mean, you know, people who do the work, especially trust, never mind courage. You ask people that have done my curriculum, you ask them about this thing of trust, you know, like how William makes you realize you don't need trust. You don't have to develop trust. And maybe not for them, but they'll tell you how they've seen people go, oh my God, what a relief. You don't need courage. There's no way. You see, that's an idea that you've got to become something first before you can create, but you don't. You just need to be on. You just need to be headed in the right direction, and that right direction will pull it together for you. You can be a coward, and it'll pull it together for you. You can be the most untrusting person in the world. It'll pull it together. Because it's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with your beliefs. Unless you know, like you focus on your beliefs, then of course you'll be locked into them. But if you focused on something else, on something higher than that, you can be untrusting. You can be incapable. You know, like for myself, one of my issues, for instance, is capability. You know, there's a belief, you know, which gives you the sense of incapability. You just, like I do, I just feel just completely incapable, and it's got a lot to do with what I started at the beginning of your interview here, our conversation, when I said when I grew up, you know, I just was considered and experienced myself as a complete idiot, and right, and so it's left me with this sense of I'm just completely incapable. If my car gets a puncture, if I get a flat, you know, I'll just go, oh God, what do I do now? I've changed 1,000 tires, but every time it happens to me, it's like, oh God, oh, my tire's flat. You know, like, oh. So I have that, and I still got it today. Not as bad, but I still got it. But it doesn't matter. I can be completely incapable, or believe I'm completely incapable. I can be scared. I can be afraid. I cannot trust. I cannot have courage. There's just no. That's the beauty of this. This is the absolute beauty of this work, of this orientation. There's no way you have to be. You just got to be focused. You just got to be focused on the right thing. And if you're focused on the right thing, that focus will pull everything together for you. No matter what you are, how you are, what you've been. Nothing. So that's the answer.
Is there anything that you are feeling called or compelled to share that I haven't asked you today? I've covered a lot of ground in today's podcast.
What's that?
Thank
Sorry?
you. Yeah, is there anything that's...
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, but do you think there's anything, or is there anything that you feel compelled to share at this particular point?
Well, you know what I'd like to say, and it can sound like a cliche, and it's not though. And people pay lip service to it, and they talk about it, and they say it, and they write it, and all that. Is that human beings are, every single human being is a God, is a creator of phenomenal potential, and by the way, realizable potential. We are powerful beyond measure, but we don't experience ourselves as that, and we don't also treat ourselves like that. We say that, but then when it comes to our kids, we treat them like, oh well, we kind of overprotect them, and society overprotects its, there's all these kind of rules that society makes for us, assuming that we're dumb and powerless and all that we've got to be looked after, protected, and there's it's like a conspiracy of powerlessness, if you like, even though we say, yeah, we're amazing beings, and oh, you're amazing, all that, but we are phenomenally amazing beings, each one of us. We're pure creative spirit connected to everything through time and space, and we are capable of phenomenal, we're capable of phenomenal creations, and we have a phenomenal ability. I'll just say this quickly. I coach people. I call my coaching the razor's edge. And people start coaching with me, and they often can be, already people that you would say, these are successful people, these are happening people and that. But when they start coaching with me, we develop goals for them, develop like a direction for them, on their true path and that. And their most common reaction is, are you crazy? I'll never create this in my lifetime. I won't create this in 25 years. Why don't we just focus on something that I'm going to create in the next 3 years, or something like that, I remember I always use this example of one of my clients said, if my wife knew I was like talking about this, she'd leave me. I said, why? She said, because she'd know I'm just crazy. She'd just know I'm like an idiot, I'm just a crazy fool. And yet that person in 3 years' time had 10x'd his vision. Not only did he get what he visualized, he 10x'd it in 3 years, right? And so I just see people creating just insane results, and that's what we're capable of, and every single person is capable of that. And you say, is there anything I want to cover? Is there anything I want to say? It's I think that's what I want to say is, everyone is amazing, but I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking to you, and you are amazing. And if you just take the trouble to scratch the surface, you're gonna feel it there right away. Not all of it, but you're gonna feel something. You scratch that a little, the surface a little bit, you're gonna be amazed, and more than likely it'll encourage you to scratch a little bit more. And before you know it, you're going to be immersed in the most wonderful realization and experience of self and life, and be on the most, literally the most glorious path that you can imagine. So believe me when I say we actually are amazing beings. We are incredible beings, and just scratch the surface. Check it out. Just scratch the surface, and you'll see. That's what I'd like to say.
William. Thank you. Okay, I'm laughing. Why am I laughing? Obviously, thanking you for your time, energy, presence, and sharing here today. But as we began even today's episode, so much of the work that you're doing, the guidance that you're providing, just what you're championing and the light that you're holding for all of us, is built so much upon your own story and your own hero's journey. And yeah, I think it's easy to thank you for today's conversation, but it really is your life's work. And just want to honor and acknowledge you for who you are and the work you're doing in the world. And thank you so much for giving us a taste here today. It's really, really
Thank you.
inspiring.
And
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. And thanks for the work you're doing also, hey, and getting it all out there and being on your hero's journey. Thank you.
Really appreciate it, brother. When I left my job, my wife was actually she was going on this journey to Brazil for a few weeks, and I'd left my job and I was in this really interesting place where I was just like, I didn't really think about quitting. So I had left and I just had enough money saved up maybe for like 3 or 4 months worth of existence. Yeah. And I was like, this could be really good. And I just see what happens over the next 4 months. I was podcasting at the time and I hadn't really identified myself as a coach or a speaker or any of that sort of stuff. So, and one of the interesting things that happened was she was like, you're coming to Brazil with me. And I was like, look, if I go to Brazil, I'm only going to have a month's worth of savings left to sustain myself. Like, this makes no sense. Like, I can't come, and I'm reflecting on your own journey when you went to Africa. And it was this really interesting thing that happened where I kept looking for flights to go to Brazil. And they were these really roundabout flights, like 38-hour flights, because Melbourne, as you know, is in the middle of nowhere. So you had to go to Dubai and then go to Miami. Yeah, it's just like, what am I doing here? And she had this really gorgeous flight path, which went from Melbourne down to like Chile and then straight to Brazil. And it was like a 12-hour flight path. But her flight was completely booked. She'd booked it 6 months earlier. She knew she was going at this point of the year. We had no idea I was going to leave my job.
Yeah, right.
And she was insistent. She was like, look, you need to go get your visa for Brazil. And I was like, look, you're leaving in a week. A visa for Brazil takes 2 weeks to get. They've made it very clear. Why would I go apply for a visa? And as you know, it was just like persistent. She was like, you got to go get it. You got to go get it. And I went and got it just so that she would stop saying go get it, standing at the post office, just, okay, I'm getting a visa for Brazil. It takes 2 weeks to come. She's going in a week. There's no way. I don't want to pay all this money for flights. I'm going to have all this money saved up. Anyway, and I went, submitted the visa, whatever. And I remember waking up, her flight was on the Sunday, and I remember waking up on the Friday, and in the morning I woke up and I had this little current, this little intuitive sort of thing hit me, and it was like, if I get a visa today, because I applied for the visa the Friday before, I'll take that as a sign that I'm meant to go. And I just woke up with that in the back of my head, and I was like, where did that come from? I had no idea. Anyway, I sort of thought that. I did my morning routine, coffee, water, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I went to, my wife was like, oh, call the visa office and see where your visa's at. So I gave them a buzz and I was like, look, I know it takes 2 weeks. I'm speaking to you. Sorry, rah, 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 rah. And they're like, yeah, look, it takes 2 weeks to get a visa. There's no way you're going to get this visa. Can you please stop wasting our time? And they're like, okay, let me just look up your details. They looked up my details and they're like, oh, you should check your email. And I went away, checked my email, and I opened up my email and I had a visa to Brazil. And I was like, oh shit, this is a bit trippy. And I remember that voice that kicked in the morning, which was like the intuition. And I was like, oh, if I get it, I'll consider, like, I'll go. And then we started looking at flights, William. And then right after, as we opened up flights, her entire flight path there and back, there was 2 seats that were available, which had been booked out for ages. And every seat that was available, one of them was right next to her there on the 2 legs and then on the way back. And I was just like, what the... And then when I was reading about your like investigations around Casanova and the trippy sort of things that were just like, things would just materialize. Yeah, it just really opened my mind up to like touch with the, like, what the trippiness of just the reality and how it's panned out. It's just like,
well, look, I mean, that's pretty common when you're in the creative orientation, but also when you're being called at first, stuff like that's very strong, right? To get you know what I mean? Lines up very strongly, hey.
Well, that was the thing. When I saw it, I was just like, take my money. Just like, this is too serendipitous. I'm freaking out. I was like, take my money. All right, or whatever. And it was amazing.
Shut up and take my money, yeah.
It's pretty much what happened.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean it's a great story. Thanks for sharing it. That's a good story. Maybe I'll use it one. No, it's a really great story, you know, of that synchronicity kind of thing. But that's a very typical thing, you know, like when people are called, how things just start lining up for them, you know, and it really gets you in, because it's just like, wow, everything.
It defies logic. It actually blasts your logic apart. Like your logic just explodes on itself.
Yeah. Very cool story. Very cool.
Hey, you're Inspired Tribe. I want to take a quick sec. I wanted to share something today with you that is really dear to my heart, and it's actually what keeps the entire ecosystem around the Inspired Evolution thriving, my one-on-one coaching. So it's basically coaching that helps you live a spiritually aligned life. I coach people from all different types of walks of life. These people are leaders, and they're looking to have an incredible spiritual impact in the lives that they're leading for themselves, and then also lead in alignment to their values. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Here's a few people that have also transformed through my coaching, and here's what they have to say.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines.
He's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing.
Then my corporate banking job wasn't really doing it.
You feel like you're not making progress towards your goals.
And Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
I'm more in control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
As you guys can see, there's a lot of people all over the world from all these different corners experiencing incredible transformations. I don't think, if I can say humbly myself, that there is anything quite like this somewhere else online. Most people that, have channels that, grow and grow and grow don't really focus on one-to-one offerings. I have just found that it is the most profound space where you can bring yourself in a private container and really just share what's going on for yourself. And if you want to book in for that call with me, touch base, it's www.amrit.coach/life. That's www.amrit.coach/life. There is a link in the show notes below to book in that call. And yeah, if you want to take your journey further, if you want to dive in deeper, and you really want to live a spiritually aligned life, if it's for you, please do check it out. And without too much further ado, once again, for your spirit, for yourself, today's podcast. You watched the entire episode. Thank you so much for your inspiration to evolve. On screen now is your opportunity to dive in deep to another conversation, just waiting for you to inspire your evolution further. As always, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Remember to hit subscribe. It really helps with everything the Inspired Evolution is championing here in the world. I'll see you in the next one.